The old one has the systolic, the diastolic, and the pulse written out on the actual frame. When you do your blood pressure on your new one, it comes up as part of the display. After you have run the old one, it will show you a number next to the systolic, which is the upper number, which is how the maximum pressure that your heart is pumping when it pumps out. The diastolic is the minimum pressure, which is when your heart is resting. So those two numbers, if you hear somebody say like 110/70, that's the systolic over the diastolic. Okay. This one says the range of 135/85 is good. The next number down is pulse. That tells you how fast your heart is beating. Now, the difference between these two, this one has a switch on the bottom for a 2-user. This one does not have a physical switch, but it might have, as part of when you turn it on, it might be just for a single one, it might be for a double one. Both of them have the side to side, which allows you to scroll through your readings right there and right there.
Okay.
So in other words, if you want to go back, it will allow you to look at your previous reading so you can compare. Okay. That has it on 2 buttons there. This one is just a single button that
We'll show one
left
reading,
or right.
up or down.
Memory. Oh, this allows you to take a note or whatever on it. So this looks like it is a single person version. Yes, this is a single user versus a multi-user. So the difference in the strap is you don't have the instructions written on the inside. They're written right here, but you still want to have it where it's pointed at the middle of your inside of your elbow, that it's snug but not too tight.
And that thing's gonna pump it up to
Yes, ma'am.
how tight that needs to be.
So to turn it on, there is this right here. I think it might be Bluetooth as well, but that turns it on. I hit that to start it. I hold it in and now it's going to start. So now it is ramping up and it will find the highest pressure where it hears the heartbeat. When you see the heartbeat starts, generally that gives you an indication round about where the low number is.
Where are your car keys? Put them on your check. Then you can't go off without it.
Nope. So as it goes down, it's going to find the lowest spot where it's beeping. And that's how it determines the lower. So 156/90. And it just gives me an indication that it's high. And my pulse rate is still high. And my blood pressure is still high because I have eaten. And it'll be that way for about an hour to hour and a half. Okay. If I do... Okay, that's where I can do 1 or 2. Now if I do it again, so does it make sense on how it works? Works just like your other one.
With just one person.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Less confusing for it too.
Michael, if they ask you what that means on the bottom of your check, Doug Advance tell them that's shows that Wayne is the one that was doing the advancing
Mm-hmm.
rather than Harriet.
They don't ever ask.
I know, but if they did,
I would just say, well, I interrupted him and he was, so that tells me my upper is 158, my lower is 89, and my pulse is 88.
Pulse is the same thing as a heartbeat, right?
Your pulse is the number of beats per minute. That's the upper pressure inside your veins. That's the lower pressure. Okay. You want to have yours down to probably 135 over 85. If you took yours now, it would be higher because you just ate. So normally when you take your blood pressure, don't take it right after you've eaten or right after you've done a bunch of heavy lifting or a bunch of exercise. Don't take it right after you've gone up and down the stairs. But generally, you only need to take it one time a day.
Okay, should you ever take it in the morning when you wake up,
Yes, that probably would not be a bad idea
before you eat, or after?
before you eat, because remember, once your tummy starts digesting, it jacks the pressure, racks your blood pressure up because it's calling on more blood to go to your stomach to help with digestion. It also raises your pulse rate. So, example, if you normally get up at 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe early, maybe later, just tell yourself, okay, at 9 o'clock, I'm going to take my blood pressure for the day. Now, your blood pressure can vary all throughout the day based on eating, drinking, stress. If you've got a stressful phone call, then expect your blood pressure to be higher. Okay. If you've just taken pain medicine, your blood pressure probably will be lower. So I would just pick a time during the day.
In other words, if I see, like, if something real stressful is going on, or I'm going through something like that,
You can
I can come put that on and see what it's showing on my heartbeat, right?
Yes,
And if
ma'am.
it's going real high, what should I do?
Call me.
If it gets over what?
Like the numbers that I just showed you, if you're taking your blood pressure medicine daily, your blood pressure is designed to take high readings and get them down within to a target range. If the blood pressure medicine that you're taking doesn't get you down, then they'll give you a higher dose of that blood pressure medicine to get it down in a normal operating range. If it's too low, that's generally an indication that you don't have enough fluids.
I need to drink a lot of water.
You need to drink more water, and that will help raise your blood pressure, and it will lower your heart rate. When you are low on fluids, what happens is you have a lower pressure, lower fluid amount in your blood system, so your heart has to beat faster to make it get the right amount of blood throughout. So with you, make sure that you take your medicine on about the same time every day. If you feel dehydrated, drink you some water.
Well, should not drinking water be sort of a mainstay of my
Yes, ma'am. You are 70% water, Mom. And which means just pure water. Your cells have to have the water to be able to function, otherwise they start drying out, and then they start pulling water from other parts of your body. So what a doctor once told me is the way you know you're drinking enough water is when you go to the bathroom, if it's clear.
It's clear.
If it's darker, like darker yellow, that means that you're getting dehydrated, which means you need to drink more water. If it's brownish or reddish, call me immediately, because that generally means that you're either going into kidney or liver failure, or we got to get you to the hospital in a hurry. Okay, so now there are some medications that you can take that will change the color of your pee. There are some things that you can eat, like if you eat asparagus, it makes your pee-pee smell horrible.
Really?
Really does. I mean, there are
What does broccoli do?
broccoli can make it sort of pungent, but that's not something you really need to worry about. It's just like when you go in the bathroom, if it's clear, you're all clear. If it's too dark, drink. If it's a weird color, call me.
Okay.
And I can get you to take a picture of what the
Can
bowl
you look like?
looks like, and we can go from there and know whether or not, well, we need to get an ambulance, or I need to come over here and help you, or either I need to tell you what we need to do differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does Maxide do?
If I'm not mistaken, Maxide's a water pill,
Yes.
and what it does, the older you get, the less efficient your heart is. You remember when I had heart problems? It was called we had a thing called ejection fraction.
Ejection rate.
The ejection fraction tells you how efficient your heart is at pumping. Okay.
Is that when your ejection rate was almost down to 20?
It was down to 10.
10.
Yep. Anything under 35%, they'll generally put you on a heart transplant list. 10 basically means you're a walking dead man. And they've got to do stuff to get it up. One of the side effects of what they call congestive heart failure is when your
That's what
heart,
mother died with that.
when your heart cannot pump efficiently and water seeps out or fluid seeps out of your blood vessels and into your body cavity. Okay, that's what's called pleurisy, if it's around your lungs or around your heart. And congestive means you're building up water that makes it harder for you to breathe, and harder for your heart to pump. Congestive heart failure, when it causes that high amount of water, that shows up as a higher pressure in your veins, because you've got too much water and it can't knock it away, and your heart rate's going too high because it's trying
In other words, if I have some bad variants of the normal thing, I just need to call you and tell you
Yes.
what's happening.
In other words, don't worry, just call me and I'll come over and we'll figure out what's going on.
Or if you think it's something that I need to be going to the doctor or hospital, you need Daddy to be driving me over, and
Yes.
you meet us over there.
Like, for example, if you're supposed to be taking your blood pressure medicine and you don't take it, expect your blood pressure to be 30 to 50 points higher than it needs to be. Okay? And when you get above 180, you are in what's called hypertensive shock. And unless they can get it back down, you can have a heart attack and a stroke from that.
And above all, you want to avoid, of course, the heart attack, but you sure want to avoid a stroke, right?
That's right.
That's right off life altering or life ending.
Stroke is tissue death, okay? And the tissues die because they don't have blood going to them, okay? A stroke, if it's like a blood clot gets in your brain and it blocks off flow to a part of your brain, that part of your brain will die unless it can get blood flow back to it.
Now, will the act of drinking water get the blood looser, or?
Water does not cause you to get rid of blood clots. When they do a normal checkup, they'll run blood work, and one of the tests is they check for a clotting factor to see how quickly your blood clots. Okay, and if it clots too quickly, then you run the risk of those clots building up and blocking off blood supply to a part of your body. And if that happens and there is not relief from that pretty quickly, whatever organ or whatever tissue will die.
What is the correlation between heavy stress and heart attack, heart failure?
Okay. Stress is something that we all deal with. There's good stresses that causes euphoria and happiness. There's bad stresses that fear and anxiety and uptightness and yelling and screaming and hollering. Both of those put a load on your heart. The happy stresses are ones that, if you remember, when you get excited, your heart will race. Like when you and Dad started dating, when you saw him, your heart would race because you were excited to see him. You were excited to be with him, to go places with him. That's a good stress. And your body reacts by your heart rate going faster upon first seeing him, and then because your body then goes back down to normal, your heart rate stabilizes. Sometimes it goes a little lower because you're relaxed, you feel comforted, you feel in a state
Happy.
of protected. Now, if all you and Dad did was scream and holler at each other, that causes cortisol to build up, and cortisol is one of the worst things for causing excess weight, excess fat. It's really hard to get off. A lot of adrenaline. It's like if you see you're about to be in a car wreck. Your adrenaline's going to start going, your heart's going to go faster. That's anticipating a negative event. That's trying to get your body fluids all into your center cavity
So you can be strong elsewhere.
to help keep you alive in case you should have damage to one of your limbs. That way you don't bleed out as easily. But the negative stresses, worry, anxiety, those will raise your heart rate as well. And at almost 80 years old, there is a formula that applies for everyone. They take your maximum heart rate, which is 220, and you subtract your age. And I'm going to calculate what your maximum heart rate is for you.
160. Is it 160?
Oh no. Much less than that. And when you, let me find, there was 220 minus 80, which is your age, is 140. Okay. So then a percentage of that, the maximum you should be exercise working at is 85% of that. So 140 times 0.85. When you are stressed or when you are exercising, your heart rate should never get above 120. Okay. Typically, your heart rate should be, when you're when you're average exercising, that 140 times, 50% of it is 70. So your heart's having to beat at 50% of its capacity just sitting there, okay? So you don't have, but like 50 beats a minute to work with. So the less stress you can have in your life, the less negativity, the less load on your heart. Okay, it's just as bad to have your heart racing too fast as it is to have high blood pressure. If you have both of them, that puts you closer to having a heart attack or a stroke and dying, and we don't want either one of those. So let me show you an example.
Do you check your heart regularly, Mike?
Yes, ma'am. Right now, I'm at 84.
And that's good, right?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I mean, I'm explaining and talking, and
Yeah. You've got some stress going on.
it's a good thing.
I mean, it's a good stress, but it is stress. Daddy always has a great blood pressure, don't you,
Yeah.
Daddy?
Michael,
Yes, sir.
do you want to try to do the car, and if the car
Sure.
does good, are we to take it today, or we're gonna?
No, we won't worry about it today.
Okay, well, we've got a couple of hours. What we're gonna try to find out now
Mm-hmm.
is, what is its status, is that right?
Yes.
I cleared the top drawer over there for you to put it where you normally put it.
Thank you.
A good heart rate for you
Mm-hmm.
is around 70. If you are in
She has high blood pressure.
If you're in poor or if you're in below average, you can count on about 80 to 85
Yep.
as your resting heart rate.
Yep.
But you don't ever need to get it above 120, because when you put it above 120,
On the bottom side?
no, that's her heart rate.
Oh, okay.
Heart
All
rate.
right, all right.
She should never get above 120,
I'm with you.
because at 140, you run the risk of dying.
All right, we gotta get her to take her medicine.
So you need to make sure that you take your blood pressure medicine, and when you take it on a regular basis, and you take your readings, you write them down daily,
Here you go.
and you notice if they're running higher than they need to be consistently, then you need to tell your doctor, because they may need to go up on your blood pressure medicine, or we
She
may need.
takes one in the morning, one at night, and if she forgets to take the one at night, we're not getting medication enough, so
Sure.
she and I are working together to, you saw with the cups and having the medicines out and
Yeah.
making sure she's taking them.
Yep. So when you
Okay,
so when you consistently take it, you know if you're getting enough medicine by what your heart rate does
should we
and
have
what
a
your
prayer
blood
before
pressure
we go
is.
and work on the car? No, I was joking.
So, best thing you can do is do things to keep this at 80. You need to do as stress-free a living as possible. In other words, don't worry about people in Tennessee, Ohio, Florida, Texas, wherever. Be concerned about you. Be concerned about Dad.
What, like sometimes I get upset, he said, and he's insisting that I take Xanax.
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah. So sometimes he'll give me a half of Xanax, which that'll lower my
Anxiety and stress, which helps your heart, because it's not anxiety that kills you. It's not stress that kills you directly. It's overworking a particular part of your body. And what those things do is they work real hard on your heart. Okay?
But if I'm enjoying my day and my life, and
Mm-hmm.
It's
Daddy?
clouding up as if to rain.
It's not
Y'all
going
can
to
have
rain today.
this conversation.
It's not going to rain today. It's just cloudy today.
No, if you look outside,
At least down where we're at, let me look and see what forecast is for up here. How soon we having stuff.
trust me, I'm an engineer. Oh, I love that. How's my William doing? Is he doing good?
He's doing good.
Would you give him a big old Nana hug,
I sure will.
nanny hug?
So I can look and tell you got rain there and up above you. You're not gonna give me rain here. I'll show Dad. But whatever you can do to keep your stress as low as possible is what you need to do. And taking your medicine is your first line of defense. Eating, if you eat a lot of salt, that makes you retain a lot of water, which makes it worse.
In other words, Daddy's been buying those little cup things that are like Fritos almost.
Mhm.
If I eat a lot of those, that's been a lot of salt.
If you eat a lot of salt, salt makes you retain water, which makes it worse.
Was that Maxide something I need to take if I've eaten a lot of salt?
Well,
Or was that?
Maxide is not designed to be as needed kind of medicine. Maxide is for a systemic problem where you're retaining too much water. But if you will avoid the saltiness, that will help keep you from retaining excess water.
Right.
Looking
The
at
battery light didn't come on, I
Okay.
mean, radio light
Right,
didn't come on.
okay.
I've got it connected.
you
He's
got
check-
rain
he's
south
check-
of here going that way. You got rain north of here, nothing behind.
Yeah,
So
okay,
we're
well, that's a
fine.
big black cloud anyway.
Well,
you
Michael
got
just
all
saw
that?
what it was.
Okay, well, you got all afternoon to talk to
Okay,
him after
well-
we see what the car
Okay,
situation.
Okay. Be there in just a minute, Dad. Okay. So bottom line is you have to ask yourself, is what you're getting upset about worth dying over?
Mm-hmm.
And if it is,
So I put this back. You don't need it today. We're not gonna take the car today or anything.
no, sir, I wouldn't think so.
All right. We'll have to have the tag when we transport it though.
Yes, sir. Or I can just put it in the back window.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
Do I need to put the, well, I'll wait to see if the car's broken.
yeah, it'll be just a few minutes. Okay, so you just have to ask yourself, is it worth getting upset about? Is it worth getting my heart rate? Because if I get it above 120, that is not good for me at all. That puts me at a higher risk of a heart attack. Okay. Now, me at 55, I have a higher threshold. Like my number's around 140, 145. Okay, but yours is at 120. And if you're dealing with high blood pressure and you're retaining water, your sitting heart rate is going to be higher. Okay, so take your blood pressure medicine, track it. In other words, write it down each day what it is on a consistent time. Avoid salts, and by avoiding stress, it keeps the cortisol from coming on, which excess weight makes it harder on your heart.
Could the stress he gives me result in this and maintaining the weight that I would not like to have?
Well, as we age, our metabolism slows down. When I was 20, I could eat 4 meals a day, go all day, and lose weight. Okay. At 55, my metabolism is slowed down. I don't exercise as much as I used to. You don't exercise as much as you used to. So it's harder for you
Right.
to
That beautiful picture,
to
Ginger.
get weight off. But what you need to remember is it worth dying over?
Right. And the secret to this thing is your daddy's supposed to be real sweet, right?
Well, both y'all be sweet.
Oh,
We are.
Just